Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how we can use ground forces to drive the throw. Now, ground forces are an important principle in many sports, and disc golf is no different. So what I'd like to do today is use examples from other sports like baseball, ball golf, and hockey that involve similar interactions between your feet in the ground and your hips in the swing to give you some intuitive ways to understand how you can use the ground to drive the throw. Now, when your feet are leveraging the ground, engaging the hips, you can think of them as pushing down against the earth, which is pushing back at you. And the way that you recruit that force is really critical to driving everything up the kinematic chain, because if you don't have sufficient energy coming from the ground, you can't really generate it from nowhere. And this is what leads to phenomena like strong arming the disc and injuries in the shoulder and the elbow and so on. Additionally, by incorrectly trying to torque against the ground in various ways, you can hurt the knees. And so what I'd like to do today is work inside. And the reason for this is we can interact with a hardwood floor and give you some auditory feedback to aid your learning. And so we'll be able to hear the weight shifting as we work in a relatively small space of movement. And the better control you have over those forces, the more potential power you can get in the swing. Additionally, we want to think about more tricks for getting your body used to the principles of lag. And so once you've generated that force from the ground, we of course want that swing lagging behind. So, here today, we're going to principally be focusing first on those ground forces and tricks for weight shifting, and then use a couple of props to help us with adding a little bit more lag and a feel for lag into your throw. So let's get started.
So let's get into a nice neutral position, and we will use our arm swing to lift that lead foot back into the backswing, and we're going to rock like this back and forth, toe heel, toe heel. You're going to use that front foot to help accelerate into the backswing and use your full weight and plant leg leverage into the ground to drive the swing through. Let's reset again and start swinging. Now, when you move into the backswing, that front foot is leveraging against the ground into the backswing. And when you release the weight from that front foot, you will go forward into a firm plant. So keep rocking back and forth, toe heel, shifting your weight back and forth fully between feet. Let your arm lead, and then follow the feet forward in a sequence. That weight shift is going to make the swing feel relatively effortless and just ride the momentum through. Step through and forward. Keep the shoulder closed until your momentum clears fully to that front foot. Do this until you feel basically like a metronome, effortlessly swinging back and forth, letting the ground action of your feet drive the swing. When your plant leg hits the ground, take it into a squat, and you'll be resisting the earth. This is a dynamic brace. When you land and leverage the ground, it'll help clear the hip. And this is what makes one-leg drills very powerful if you engage in this sort of golf swing or hockey slap shot style. So feel your plant leg compress against the ground like a spring, and feel the power as you resist against the ground and the ground resists you. Level it out to swing sideways. You can take that out to the field, and you'll be surprised at how far you can throw in that position. So again, I'm not really doing much other than springing into and out of that leg to get that motion. Let's get back in our neutral stance. Sink those feet and that arm up again. Rock easily back and forth, and you're again going to use the toe heel shift to carry through to that arm. I'm getting all of this momentum just from the interaction of my feet with the ground, and as I add effort, I can slide forward and collect my leg into counterbalance. The more juice you add and the bigger the step, the swing drive is going to be larger, driven by that weight shift. The knee drop of the drive leg occurs just because the hip rotation is carrying through into the plant step, where I'm springing against the earth to drive that lead hip open, getting easy power up the chain and into the swing. Okay, so now let's use the ground and some audio feedback to learn how to generate more ground force and control over those forces. Keep rocking back and forth in this stance, and notice how you can't hear anything from my feet. I'm fully shifting the weight, toe heel, in a very fluid motion, and there's really nothing coming back from the floor in this position. So it's not very abrupt, it's not a very powerful movement with my feet. Now if I take the same movement and just add a little bit more effort to it, you can start to hear the floor reacting. Add a little more, and now more. Feel and hear the shift. Still fluid, but also an abrupt and strong transition driven through the feet, letting my weight go into that heel assisted by the foot action. So now we can continue to try drills like this, sync up, fall into that plant aided by that drive leg, and you can swing wider, adding more ground force. Allow the counterbalance to occur. And again, I'm using that front step to aid the backswing, and then shifting the weight using the drive leg forward, and that's driving the swing. And when I spring through that front leg, the swing goes up. Now let's compare the same foot action with two levels of intensity. Here the action's okay. I'm shifting and allowing the leg to collect forward into the plant step, but it's pretty weak. You can't hear much. It doesn't look abrupt. So the upper body, you can see it kind of jerking and lagging a little bit, but there's not much power transmitted up the chain, and this is what causes us to try to compensate with the upper body and the weaker muscles and joints. We just don't have the power coming from the ground into that upper body, and we can't make up for it in a vacuum. Now if we get into a bit of a squat and shift our butt slightly toward the target, you can see that just doing the same foot action is driving this rotational mechanism, which is going to help transmit the power to the swing and get heavy. Here's a good can crush. Same foot action. Let gravity and the foot action transition you abruptly forward into that can crush. And watch the hips rotate smoothly in that abrupt motion. This rear drive foot is moving into a fluid action, helping with that weight shift. You push in the ground, and I'm going up because the ground's pushing on me as I give it a leg-assisted crush with that plant leg. And that's transmitting to the lagged upper body. So all of this action in the upper body is coming for free just by having good contact with the ground and allowing the foot action to fluidly move the hips and transmit it up the chain through the brace. Let's learn a few swing drills that allow us to transmit ground forces into lagged upper body action. So we're going to find that in several swings across sports, we're going to have very similar ground forces. Notice that the swing in golf is very similar to what we just practiced, where we're going to de-weight that front foot after we've used it to move into the backswing, and we're going to shift that weight forward using the drive leg, landing into the plant, and with that continuous toe-heel action, drive the swing upward using spring-like action in the plant leg. And even if you've never played golf, hopefully this up-down action of the swing led by the weight shift will give you a good intuition for how that toe-heel action and weight shift drive momentum up the chain into that lagged swing process. And here I'm using the broomstick for these drills just because, albeit light, you'll be able to hear it sort of whoosh through the air as we speed up as these drills proceed. So you can take it nice and slow, feel control over that entire kinematic chain. Toe heel, up the chain through the swing. Now we can change position and choke up like in hockey. This is a really good drill for maximally powering and loading through the hips while in a more squatted position, a bit more similar to disc golf. And importantly, you're going to be feeling the sense that there's a hinge, like a door hinged to the outside of either of your thighs. And you're going to feel that compression and squat into the plant leg after you transition from the rear leg, and you're using that leverage against the ground to drive the slap shot through. This is fundamentally the same exact action that we want in the hips in the disc golf backhand. Remember, we want to start by driving the power up through our feet, toe heel, up the chain into the hips with the lag, shoulder, and swing action. Try different grips. Swing sideways, swing up and down, swing with different grips. And again, here we can slow down considerably to focus on feeling the feet driving the initial action underneath the upper body using the weight shift. And you can speed up using the weight shift to add force. Change your choke again to baseball-like. Feel the squat into that weight shift, and just listen. The power is driven entirely by the weight shift underneath the swing. So now take the same position, Do the same shift, but now deliberately slow down to allow your upper body to feel the separation and lag as the swing comes around. You want to develop control and sensation for this effect and slowly scale it up and speed it up. And we're achieving the same effect in the disc golf backhand. Easy force throughout the swing. So play around different shifts, squats, lags, and speed. Pick a disc up and try to achieve the same effect as you move forward into the shift into the plant. Here are 2 drills using weights. Remember the skate from earlier in the series, stepping back and forth, balancing and counterbalancing. Well, here we want to get used to the idea that using spring-like action in the plant leg is all you need to drive that weight forward. So just swinging it easily back and forth like this, weight shift like earlier, and just get used to that plant leg compressing and decompressing to drive that weight forward. Nice and easy. This is a weighted backswing drill. Same idea, except here, extend backward as you drive forward with that rear leg. And that's going to give you a sense for how the backswing is going to cause that stretching reaction as you entered into the backswing, creating a gravity sling because of the separation of the weight moving backward and your center of gravity moving forward as you move into the weight shift. So finally, let's use a disc drill. I used all of the preceding drills because it's very difficult to impart these forces on the much lighter disc. So here's a drill I've used to help transfer that to the disc. So notice in these swings that I'm going to get very poor ground forces and no upper lower body lag. So I'm using my feet, but I'm not using them very abruptly. I'm not getting a good weight shift, and I'm kind of yanking through with my upper body like a lot of players do when they're starting out. This swing's a little better, involving more of a sling, but let's crank it up. So we're going to use a pendulum style pump, rock back and forth using the ground forces we learned earlier, swing all the way over in your head, back into the backswing, and then lead with the weight shift. And what you should feel is a relatively significant increase in power because you've caused that stretching reflex by pushing the disc backward, letting the weight of the arm and disc together cause that separation. And then just by using the foot action and weight shift, you'll cause that stretching reflex up the chain, and the hips are going to lead the throw. And again, you're going to swing this up toward the ceiling. If you're outside, you can swing it down laterally. Don't be surprised if the disc is popping out at first. It's important to stop and reset if you ever feel disconnected from the ground. So swing should only count when you've got this full action moving up the chain and into the swing. Keep getting looser, expand your range of motion dynamically, increase the separation between body parts. Get used to controlling this entire swing regardless of the range of motion or the speed. So if I didn't let the disc diffuse this momentum upward, it would be releasing. And indoors, this would be putting holes in my walls and windows. So I suggest doing it outside.